Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back. It's Sunday, April 26th, and it is 10:02 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, let's get into the news. Hope everyone is doing well this evening. I certainly am feeling so much better. I have been taking MMS. Some of you know what that is, and some of you don't. And I know many people say, oh, it's so dangerous, but I have never felt, well, I can't say I've never felt better in my life, but I definitely feel better than I have in a couple years, that's for sure. So, and I'm really only at the start of my regimen. So I am hoping that this really will work. It has been proven effective in myofascial pain syndrome, which is what I have. And so I guess time will tell, but so far so good. I certainly have much more energy. And that is the first thing that I notice. But again, I'm not offering medical advice, and I'm not telling anybody to take that. Somebody provided it for me. They sent it to me, a listener, and I was afraid to take it at first. And then I thought, no, you know what? Maybe this is God. Maybe this, God laid it on this person's heart to send it to me, and this is my answer. So I started taking it, and I'm so glad I did because I feel wonderful. Anyway, let's get into this. I do have some people to thank, but I'm going to leave that to the end, and we're going to just jump right in here. I've got a lot of really good articles. Yesterday, I ended up taking the night off because I had collected a few things, but there just didn't seem to be much. And I was digging and digging and digging and spending all this time and really not finding much. And I thought, you know what? I need a night to just, not think about this stuff. And of course, today there's been lots of news and information. So there you go. Anyway, and it does me good to take the odd night off too, because, this stuff really does drag on your spirit. Well, I don't know how else to put it other than that. It's just a drag physically, spiritually, and emotionally, looking at all this stuff. But anyway, it is necessary, and I do want to be informed, so I keep at it. All right, let's jump in here. All right. Now, this is actually something that I was going to bring to you yesterday. Christians in China arrested for participating in a Zoom worship service. So let's scroll down here. China's crackdown on anyone practicing Christianity does not seem to be limited to how one worships God, but the fact that they worship God in itself is criminal in China. During this pandemic, Christians in China, restricted by government regulations on social distancing and the obvious ban on gatherings, chose what has become to be a popular app for video calls and conferencing, Zoom. Zoom is an online video conferencing app that helps connect people through video calls and chats and has an immense conferencing capabilities, allowing multiple people to be on the same video call. Now, members of the Early Rain Covenant Church in China got arrested because they held Easter service using Zoom. They were afterwards warned against taking part in religious activities of any kind. Several members of the church would later be arrested thanks to China's immense surveillance program. So imagine you are just participating online in a church worship service and you are arrested. Not only is there no free speech there, there's very little freedom of any kind there. Certainly you do not have the freedom to worship who you want. That's for sure. International Christian Concern, ICC, a group that monitors and reports all persecuted Christians worldwide, reported that the Chinese Christians were participating in an Easter worship service on Sunday using Zoom from their homes when 6 leaders of the church got arrested by the Public Security Bureau. The 5,000-member Sichuan House Church, led by Pastor Wang Yi, has not been able to gather in person since the government shut down the church in 2018 and arrested their pastor and other leaders. Since then, their services have been held online. A member of Early Rain Church told ICC, "At the time, I was also in the Zoom call, but there was a long period of time where I did not hear a thing. I thought it's the network connection issue at first, but I soon heard a quarrel erupt. Our co-worker, Wang Jun, was questioning some people saying, 'Who are you to do this to us?'" So, yeah, imagine. I mean, yes, we can think that we have it bad here because, of course, we are losing our freedoms, and that is not something that we are used to. We are used to having free speech. We are not used to having everything censored the way it is now. So we are losing our freedoms, but we have to remember, if you are a believer, we need to remember our brothers and sisters in countries such as China that do not have that freedom. And we need to pray for them because I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine. I can imagine now. You had a pastor that was preaching outside to his congregation who were in their own cars at a good distance apart, and he was arrested. I'm not sure if he was arrested or if they just came in and shut it down, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was arrested. So anyway, let's move on from there, and let's get into, sorry. Okay, let's come back here, and let's look at this. This by the Washington Examiner. Oops. We know Don Trump Jr. suggests Hillary Clinton poisoned Epstein. Now, again, this is from yesterday, but it's still fairly new news. It's still hot and fresh, fairly. Maybe not piping hot, but still hot. All right. Donald Trump Jr. implied former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton had something to do with the death of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Trump Jr. lashed out at his father's 2016 rival on Saturday, a day after she mocked the president for his offhand question asking Dr. Deborah Birx, and actually he was not asking Deborah Birx. That is a misconception, and Trump himself cleared that up. So he was not questioning Dr. Deborah Birx at the time when he made that statement about the light and disinfectant. If injecting disinfectant could be protective measure against the coronavirus, please don't poison yourself because Donald Trump thinks it could be a good idea, Clinton tweeted. We know poison is reserved for a long list of people like Jeffrey Epstein and servers. Trump Jr. tweeted, "Am I right?" He's right. Yeah, this is the actual tweet. And in response to Hillary Clinton, she said, "Please don't poison yourself because Donald Trump thinks it could be a good idea." And Donald Trump Jr. says, we know, poison is reserved for a long list of people like Jeffrey Epstein and servers. Am I right? And of course, he's talking about bleaching the servers because she did bleach bit on them to erase anything that might be, condemning. All right. Questions linger in the death of Epstein, whom New York City's medical examiner said died by suicide in a Manhattan jail while awaiting trial for sex crimes. Former President Bill Clinton repeatedly flew on Epstein's private jet, dubbed the Lolita Express, in which he transported celebrities, politicians, and underage women to houses spread around the world. Flight logs show Clinton riding on the plane dozens of times, though he and his wife have downplayed their relationship with Epstein. In November 2019, Clinton laughed when Daily Show host Trevor Noah asked her how she killed Epstein. Yeah, big joke. Now, Donald Trump Jr. must know something, or maybe he's just being a troll, a master troll like his father is. I don't know, but it's interesting nonetheless. All right, now let's go back here and look at this. Profound and disturbing echo. Schiff claims Trump coronavirus response reminiscent of Ukraine phone call. Yeah, and here we go again with Adam Schiff. Unbelievable. So this is yesterday. This came out in the news yesterday. Let's get rid of that. Former House impeachment manager Adam Schiff and President Trump's CV response reminded him, let's start that over again. Former House impeachment manager Adam Schiff said President Trump's CV response reminded him of the phone call with the Ukraine president that formed the basis of the president's impeachment. I don't think we could have ever anticipated that his brand of narcissism and his brand of incompetence, sometimes his brand of malevolence, would be so fatal to the American people, the California Democrat said on MSNBC. And now you know why I need a break every now and then, because honestly, I get so freaking irate at people like Schiff and Pelosi. Those two, I could take their heads and bang them together like coconuts. All you'd hear is like a hollow sound. That's all you would hear, like beating on an empty metal drum. That's what you'd hear if you bang their heads together, because there's nothing in there. All right. But probably, the strongest echo of what we were talking about during the trial was when he was earlier talking about how he didn't want to return the calls from governors. He didn't want his vice president to return calls from governors that weren't saying nice things about him, that really weren't saying things about him that he could then turn into campaign commercials, as indeed he has. That was such a profound and disturbing echo of what he tried to do with Ukraine. Oh, please, give it a rest. I cannot wait until he is busted, because I think we're going to find out he is one of the most depraved individuals this world has ever known. I have a feeling there is something about him. I can't even look at him. I get like the creepy crawlies. Seriously. I don't know what his issue is, but there is something bad wrong with that man. Schiff featured prominently in the attempt to remove Trump from office because of a phone call with the president of Ukraine. The Senate acquitted the president after he had been impeached by the House. Schiff has been a constant critic of Trump during the CV outbreak and has said he's investigating the methodology behind the decision to provide federal relief to American citizens during the pandemic. You had the president's own people publicly talking about the danger, and even well after the virus was established fact that it was spreading and coming to the United States, you still had the president talking it down like it would be no worse than the flu. Schiff told Mother Jones almost 53,000 people in the States have died from CV, and roughly 930,000 have been infected nationwide. Still, nowhere near the amount of people that have died from the flu. Now, I'm not doubting the virus. There is a very deadly, nasty virus out there. No question about that. But, I think it's been hyped to the max. They're getting a lot of mileage out of this. And I just don't believe this shutdown is entirely virus related. That's me. I think there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes than we know about. Okay, well, let's move on and get to the next item. Now, this from RJ Amatangelo. Washington State's Green River killer was one vote away from being released from prison because of CV-19. This man confessed to 71 murders and was convicted of 49 of them. The fact this wasn't voted down 9-0 is disturbing. Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get why they are letting criminals out of prison because they're afraid they're going to catch CV. Really. They should have thought about that before. He should have thought about that before he murdered 71 people. Do you think that he deserves to be given consideration when someone like Roger Stone is rotting in jail? Are you kidding me? Something is very, very wrong with that picture. All right. All right. Let's go on to the next item. All righty. Now, this person said, this is Lionel Media, and he says, well, I'll be a son of a bitch. Trump was right. I'm just reading what was there. All right. Now, let's take a listen to this.
You know, the concept of some sort of way of getting ultraviolet light inside the body, though, the president was correct. In fact, earlier this week, a company out of Colorado announced that it is studying a new device that would embed LED lights that emit UV rays into the breathing tubes in ventilators. And that way you could actually attack the virus from inside the trachea. I'm told that this research is still in its early phases. It hasn't yet been tried in patients, but it may be something to look at for the future. Brett? You know, the concept
now,
of some sort of way of getting ultraviolet light. This is interesting
because, you know, everybody made fun of Trump. And really, this type of technology has been around for a while. This isn't anything new. It's new to North America. And there is now a company that is developing and studying this device. And so Trump, as always, was ahead of the curve. I have got the worst stomach ache on the face of the earth, and I don't know why. Because I've eaten very, very healthy today. Anyway, I know nobody cares, and I just had to say that for some reason. All right. It feels like an alien creature's like eating its way out from the inside. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's go back now and all right. For the first time in the history of Minnesota, Muslim call to prayer will be blasted over outdoor speaker 5 times a day throughout the month of Ramadan. Now, when the Muslims believe that when that call to prayer goes out, that wherever that sound reaches, is theirs. It's under their domain now. They are now, you know, they have taken authority over it or possession of that area. So I think this is a dangerous precedent, personally. Socialism, Sharia law, and Islam are creeping in while we are all distracted with authoritarian CV lockdown orders. That is true. For the first time in the history of Minnesota, the Muslim call to prayer was broadcast over an outdoor speaker placed over the rooftop of Dar al-Hijra, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, mosque in Cedar Riverside neighborhood. The adhan will be broadcast 5 times a day throughout the month of Ramadan, which began Thursday night. This is a historic moment tonight for us to be celebrating the first call to prayer, adhan, in a major city in the United States, said Sheikh Abdissalam Adam, board chairman of Islamic Civic Society of America and Dar al-Hijra Mosque, the Sahan Journal reported. I'm sorry, I'm tripping over these names because, well, you know. Kerr, the unindicted co-conspirator of the largest terrorist funding case in U.S. history, worked in partnership between the city of Minneapolis and the Dar al-Hijra Mosque to make sure the Muslim call to prayer was blasted over a loudspeaker so people in the neighborhood could hear it during the CV lockdown. Tonight's historic call to prayer in Minneapolis will bring comfort and remind the faithful and the neighborhood that we are physically distant. We can still be, although we are physically distant, we can still be connected to our faith and mosque, said CARE Minnesota Executive Director Jailani Hussein. Yeah, so I don't know, but yeah, I have a problem with that. And you know what? I don't want to be in my house and hearing that broadcast. You know, how would they like if we started blasting Christian prayers and Christian hymns all over a city? Oh, that would be shut down right quick. You know that. but it seems it's okay for them. And the odd thing is that their rights can trample all over our rights. Doesn't matter. I don't get it. But all right. Well, I do get it. That's probably the problem. Now, this is really bizarre. Okay, this is a bigger picture of this, and this came out White House photos. And I don't know about you, but this looks really bizarre to me. Because what you've got here, and it says, good morning, have a great day. We should eat to win the war against COVID-19. Today, William's breakfast and lunch, cooked and photo by William Moon, who is White House photographer, I guess, because he's always, these photos come up under White House photos. Now, let's look at this a little bit bigger. And is he trying to send a message? Because I think the White House is trying to send a message. What do we have here? This looks like a big hot mess. We've got olives, pickles, wieners, pasta, and what else? Well, that looks like onion or something. But I just think this is interesting. Pasta and hot dogs. See the little wieners there in there? Now, I wouldn't eat this if you paid me to, but that's just me. I don't like olives either. But I don't know. I'm just saying. It doesn't look appealing at all in any stretch of the imagination. And why would the White House be putting out a photo like this? I'm just saying. Why? Well, it's got to mean something. And I think we know along the lines of what it means. Now, I am hearing more and more that they are fighting underground, that a lot of these earthquakes that we're hearing about in places all over is actually them blowing up these underground facilities. Now, no, I don't have proof, but this is what I'm hearing more and more and more from people, that this is happening. It is happening. They are going in, they are setting these kids free. Not always kids. Some of them are closer to adults, but some of them are very young. Some of them are a little older. And they are rescuing them, and they are in various sorts of decay because, of course, they haven't had access to health care or anything else. And some of these children are not in great shape. So where they are housing these children, I don't know. I have heard that there are some underground facilities that are, I guess they're good enough or they're safe enough or whatever to house some of these kids and, nurse them back to health. I really don't know, but I have heard that is what's ongoing. I guess in time we'll know. And I've also heard that Tom Hanks is indeed deceased, and that when what we're seeing of him is not really Tom Hanks. Again, do I have proof of that? No, I don't. So don't run with it. I'm just saying that's what I'm hearing. All right, let's go on now and look at the next item. All right. Yeah. Representative Adam Schiff is now suggesting that deaths caused by CV occurred because Trump was not impeached. I don't think we had any idea how much damage he would go on to do. There are 50,000 Americans now who are dead in significant part because of his incompetence. How on earth can you blame a man for a virus? It's not his fault. Unbelievable. He is a piece of work.
That snippet that you showed.
Hang on here.
Senators, okay, essentially, House managers, you've proved him guilty. Does he really need to be removed? After all, we have an election in 9 months. How much damage could he really do? And we posed that question to the Senate, and we answered it by saying that he could do an awful lot of damage. But frankly, Chris, I don't think we had any idea how much damage he would go on to do in the months ahead. There are 50,000 Americans now who are dead in significant part because of his incompetence, because of his inability to think beyond himself and put the country first. I don't think we would have ever anticipated that his brand of narcissism and his brand of incompetence, sometimes his brand of malevolence, would be so fatal to the American people. But probably, the strongest echo of what we were talking about during the trial was when he was earlier talking about how he didn't want to return the calls from governors. He didn't want his vice president to return calls from governors that weren't saying nice things about him, that really weren't saying things about him that he could then turn into campaign commercials, as indeed he has. That was such a profound and disturbing echo of what he tried to do with Ukraine. So sadly, as we pointed out during the trial,
look at that guy's head. Look at Adam Schiff, and he's had something done to his face. Like, he's got Botox because his whole face is absolutely smooth, and he's not a young man. Well, I don't care if he has Botox. I just wonder where he's getting it because everything is shut down. But seems like these people have access to everything they need. He looks like he's had his hair cut recently as well. I don't know where. I wish I could get my hair cut. Anyway, just look at his face. Like, his head is completely round. It's like a billiard ball. I don't think I've ever seen anyone with a rounder head. Anyway, that's enough of that. I really cannot stomach hearing him. He and Pelosi, I think, are the ones that bug me the most, because if their mouth is open, they're lying. They do not seem capable of telling the truth. Really. And there's a difference between someone who just says a white lie every now and then and somebody who's really not capable of telling the truth. In fact, a pathological liar will lie about things that really have no consequence anyway. They just lie to lie. And I think he lies about important things, but I just think he's a liar. He's a pathological liar and morally bankrupt. And has cotton for brains. All right, I've said enough. That's mean, but... All right, now let's look at this, shall we? The Federalist. Looks like Trump was right about the CV fatality rate. 2 new studies suggest that President Trump was right in early March when he guessed the fatality rate for coronavirus is under 1%. In early March, President Trump was lambasted for saying on Sean Hannity's Fox News show that he had a hunch the coronavirus fatality rate, which the World Health Organization pegged then at 3 to 4%, was in fact much lower, under 1%. Many commentators, myself included, pointed out that at the beginning of a pandemic medical crisis was not the time to be floating hunches. But as we always knew was possible, looks now that the president might well have been right. New data from random antibody tests conducted in the New York State suggests that as many as 2.7 million people statewide have had the coronavirus, that, along with just over 15,000 deaths that have occurred, led to a fatality rate for the virus of 0.5%, according to Governor Andrew Cuomo. Here's what Trump said on March 4th. Well, I think the 3.4% is really a false number now, and this is just my hunch, but based on a lot of conversations with a lot of people that do this, because a lot of people will have had this and it's very mild. They'll get better very rapidly. They don't even see a doctor. They don't even call a doctor. He went on to say, I think that number, the WHO number, is very high. I think the number, personally, I would say the number is way under 1%. Democrats and media pundits blasted Trump for spreading misinformation. And of course, here's all the headlines because everybody had to jump on the bandwagon with, anything Trump says, it's going to be attacked. It doesn't matter. While this data is preliminary, it is backed up by another study in Los Angeles that found 40 times more people had carried the virus than were previously known. This dropped the fatality rate in LA from 4.5% to 0.1 to 0.3%. It is difficult to stress how important these findings are. The 5-week lockdown that has destroyed the American economy was put in place by contemplating what looks to be rather absurd numbers by the WHO, while the United States, I hate it when it does that. While the United States has lost a terrible 50,000 lives to the virus, this radical shift in our understanding of just how deadly it really is should make us question not only the logic of the lockdown in the first place, but more importantly, how much longer we're going to stay on this destructive course. The fact of the matter is, back in early March, when Trump was saying what Trump was saying made sense. We had conducted very few tests of asymptomatic people, and consequently, we were flying blind as to just what percentage of COVID-19 cases were becoming critical or leading to death. If Trump's informal hunch continues to be confirmed, it will require vast changes in how we are battling the virus. For one thing, the idea of contract tracing, which Cuomo said yesterday would be led by Mike Bloomberg in New York, comes under serious doubt with these new findings. For example, in New York City, the sample suggests that about 20%, or some 1.6 million people, have already had the virus. At that rate of spread, tracing becomes a very dubious proposition. It would be nice if Trump's perspicacity on this issue led to the media giving him a little more respect on the Chinese virus response, but that's unlikely. Either way, the results are fantastic news. At a 0.5% fatality rate or lower, the CV is not the killer we feared it was, and that should make everyone happy. You know what would make me happy is everything opening back up. That's what would make me happy, because there are a lot of people suffering. There's a lot of people going without. There's a lot of people hungry. And in a few days, rent is going to be due. Mortgages are going to be due again. And with people not working, it's an issue. It's an issue. So, yeah, I don't think it's worth wrecking the economy over. I don't. I think people that are in the high-risk group can still be extremely cautious about going out and so forth, or get other people to bring them in things. But for everyone else, I think they need to get back to work. I think people are wanting to go back to work. All right. Now, let's look at this, shall we? All right, this from True Pundit, exclusive. Top scientist and HIV/AIDS research pioneer, Dr. Judy Mikovits, blows whistle on Dr. Fauci, disturbing details of disturbing details of threats, research theft, tainted vaccines, fraud, cover-ups, and pay to play. Yeah, he's not a good dude at all. I'm just wondering, this was 4 days ago, and it seems to me, I think that we've looked at this before. But I'll just read this really quickly. A top U.S. scientist and research pioneer, Dr. Judy Mikovits, has broken her long silence, revealing an insider's nightmare spanning 3 decades of conducting research under the government control of Dr. Anthony Fauci. And the allegations are downright frightening. And if true, these details warrant a host of new federal investigations to get to the bottom of numerous Fauci-led schemes revealed by Dr. Judy Mikovits on the Thomas Paine podcast on Tuesday. Dr. Mikovits said Fauci helped imprison her after stealing her proprietary research not once but twice, and her allegations against the White House's CV top medical advisor and his government cronies paint a disturbing portrait of widespread institutional corruption and greed. The alarming allegations include stealing research, covering up tainted vaccines, fraud, and much more. And Fauci's parent agency, the National Institute of Health, is not the only governmental agency involved in what amounts here to decades of corruption gone awry. Listen above or to the backup feed below. Now, the other thing is, you'll notice that Dr. Fauci hasn't been there or hasn't been on the podium during the last couple of press briefings. So there's something going on there, and I think I am convinced that Trump is not stupid, and he is always, it seems, 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of his enemies. And I believe that he knows full well what Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci stand for, who they are, and who they're connected to. He's not a fool. So I think you're going to see those two come down. I really do. All right, let's go back. All right. Cedars-Sinai statement. A Cedars-Sinai research team is in the preclinical stages of developing a technology that harnesses intermittent ultraviolet light, a light for treating viruses and bacteria. The technology has not been tested or used on patients. Cedars-Sinai has filed for patents related to the technology and has signed a licensing agreement with AYTU Bioscience. Oh, I used to have couple of their stocks and I sold them. I guess I should have kept them. AYTU Biosciences with the aim of potentially enabling near-term use as a COVID-19 intervention for critically ill intubated patients. So again, was Trump, why is everybody laughing at him? Why is everybody laughing at what he has suggested when he's ahead of the curve? Why does it seem like everybody makes fun of him and then he always gets the last laugh? All right, and I liked this. This is Bill Gates, not an engineer, never finished college, not a doctor, not an epidemiologist, not a virologist. He's unelected. He visited Epstein's pedo island countless times. He's documented thief. He owns virus patents. He owns vaccine companies. Yeah, and I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about Bill Gates because I don't think he's going to get away with it. I really don't. I pray that he does not get away with it. He has been responsible for a lot of atrocities. All right, let's go on. And Barr calls stay-at-home orders disturbingly close to house arrest. The Attorney General said the Justice Department may consider taking legal action against states that go too far. And I think that that is a good idea because some of them are drunk on power. Washington Attorney General William Barr said Tuesday that the need for strong restrictions to stop the spread of CV may be passing and that the Justice Department might consider taking legal action against states that go too far. There are very, very burdensome impingements on liberty, he told talk radio show host Hugh Hewitt, and we adopted them from the limited purpose of slowing down the spread. We didn't adopt them as the comprehensive way of dealing with this disease. We are now seeing that these are bending the curve and we have to come up with more targeted approaches. Barr said the restrictions, such as shutting down businesses and requiring people to stay at home, are intrusions on civil liberties that must be justified under the broad police powers states have to protect public health. But he said governors may go too far and interfere with interstate commerce, which is the domain of the federal government. If that happens, we'll have to address that, Barr said, which could take the form of federal governments joining in support of lawsuits that challenge state restrictions. The Justice Department took such an action just last week, filing a statement in support of a small Mississippi church that sued city officials who tried to shut down a drive-in church service while allowing a local drive-in restaurant to stay open. He called stay-at-home orders disturbingly close to house arrest. That's true. And isn't it interesting how we all have these stay-at-home orders? It's like we're on house arrest, and yet they're letting the criminals out to run free. All right, let's go back and look at the next. This is a weird thing. Very weird. Not cool. Ancient unknown viruses found locked in China glacier ice, and a melt could unleash them, just like real life fortitude. Now, this was a while ago. This was back in January where this came out. I didn't hear about it, so I'm bringing it to you guys now. Maybe you've heard about it, maybe you haven't, but I don't know. Maybe that's true, or maybe they have more plans for other viruses that they're going to release, and then they'll blame it on, oh, well, it's because of the glaciers melting. Who knows? Ancient viruses currently locked in a Chinese glacier could be unleashed upon us if climate change causes the ice to melt. Viruses have resided in the whatever that is, ice cap on the northwestern Tibetan plateau of China for 15,000 years, so lots of them are unknown to modern science. A recent investigation of 2 ice cores taken from the glacier revealed what they contained. This included 28 virus groups that have never been seen before. The researchers wrote in their study, in a worst-case scenario, this ice melt from climate change could release pathogens into the environment. The possibility is why scientists want to learn as much as possible about the viruses now, so if they're unleashed into the world, we'll know how to deal with them. Or more likely, they want to learn as much as possible about them so that they can unleash them to the world. Isn't that what they did with this CV? They cooked it up in a lab. All right, ancient viruses currently locked in a Chinese glacier could be unleashed upon us if climate change causes to ice melt. And Mongolia, Tibet, India. Okay, so yeah, and here is the ice cap up here. So, deadly viruses spreading into the environment from melting glaciers is reminiscent of the Sky Atlantic drama series Fortitude. Although Fortitude is fictional, the study implies that it's technically possible for similar events to happen in real life, so scientists want to be sure they know what they're dealing with. Back in 2016, biological warfare troops were rushed to the Russian Arctic amid growing concerns over a serious anthrax outbreak. Around 40 people were hospitalized, and a 12-year-old boy died from the deadly infection after a contaminated reindeer corpse buried at least 70 years before thawed because of a heat wave in northern Siberia. Russian experts blame global warming for the thawing and subsequent anthrax outbreak caused by the reindeer corpse. Over 1,000 reindeer also died. Climate change is also thought to be affecting the Tibetan plateau, and it's said to have lost a quarter of its ice since 1970. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has warned that up to 2/3 of the remaining glaciers in the area could be lost by the end of the century if action isn't taken. The ice core samples used in the study were actually removed from the glacier in 1992 and 2015. Unfortunately, this meant that older methods were used when collecting them, and the outside of the cores became contaminated with modern-day microbes. However, the insides remained pristine. The researchers cut through the ice cores with a bandsaw whilst located in a room kept at 23 degrees Fahrenheit, -5 degrees Celsius. Their experiment found 33 different types of viruses, and only 5 of these were known to modern science. The research is also important because the viruses can teach us a lot about things like ancient environmental conditions. It's important to put these trapped viruses in an archive in case climate change results in any knowledge of them being lost forever. What would be the bad thing of a virus being lost forever? I'm just saying, what would be the harm in that? I don't know. Modern day China is currently facing a new virus crisis. The outbreak of CV began in the city of Wuhan, which has since been put in lockdown, blah, 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 blah. So previously deadly outbreaks of SARS and Ebola were also believed to have originated in the flying mammal, the bat. Experts had thought that the new virus wasn't capable of causing an epidemic as serious as those outbreaks because its genes were different. Well, experts thought that the new virus wasn't capable of causing an epidemic because they didn't plan on somebody taking a bat coronavirus and hollowing out and adding SARS and HIV components to it. Yeah, not a good thing to do. But this research appeared to prove otherwise while scientists scrabbled to produce a vaccine. Yeah, a vaccine I won't be taking. You can do as you wish, but for me, no vaccine. All right, let's go back and yeah. And here's the other thing that Trump was talking about. Again, ahead of the curve, devastating. Renowned French doctor Didier Raoult destroys liberal Trump-hating media on VA junk report on hydroxychloroquine. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought this was talking about something else. Ever since President Trump mentioned the highly successful studies, I think we've looked at this before. I think we have. In fact, I know we have. So I'm going to skip that and I'm going to go on because we can. Now, what do we have down here? All right. This is very interesting. I think you'll find it interesting as well. CNN has removed the August 11th, 1993 Larry King episode from Google Play. Now, why would they want to do that? Why would they go remove an episode in here? I'm just saying. They removed an episode. I'm just saying. Why would they want to do that? Oh, yeah. It featured a phone call from the mother of Joe Biden's current accuser. So, yeah, they deleted their own proof that this woman, was raped by Joe Biden, and she had called in, her mother had called into Larry King's show. But they removed that because they don't want that to get out, although it's already out there on the internet if they haven't removed all of it. Yeah. But I don't think we'll see it in the news anyway. It doesn't matter. They're going to keep it from the news because it's Joe Biden. And it's sickening because look at, I was so sick of hearing about Stormy Daniels. Michael Avenatti. I mean, and he was just a grandstanding idiot, really did not have two neurons to rub together, and just because he's got his bar, and he's a lawyer, does not mean necessarily that he's smart. There's lots of people that have a good education that aren't smart, really. I mean, some people are just better at the school game than others. And, I don't know, but it doesn't strike me as an overly smart man. Or maybe it's just that he's morally bankrupt and he's just kind of sleazy. But I was so sick of hearing about Stormy Daniels, and come to find out she never slept with Trump anyway. She made it all up, like she told her girlfriend. So I don't know. But yet, look what Joe Biden does right out in the open. Nobody says a word. Oh, he's just, he's just friendly. Yeah. All right. This is something else I don't understand. I don't understand the elite's love affair of Stacey Abrams. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. but they want her in bad. And a lot of people are saying now that she would make a good vice president. Right. 5 reasons why Stacey Abrams would be a risky VP choice for Joe Biden. But I'm telling you, the elites love her. The Democrats love her. And even though she lost, I mean, it's like, I don't get it. I mean, she even had Oprah on her side trying to get her elected. Former Georgia Democrat gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams is pitching herself as a potential running mate for former Vice President Joe Biden. Well, of course she's pitching herself. That's all she does is pitch herself. She, anything that's going to get her in the spotlight, that's what she's going to do. Though Abrams has benefited from fawning media praise, selecting her would come with its downside. For Biden, the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, here are 5 reasons why Abrams would be a risky choice. Well, you don't need to tell us, but anyway. She's never been elected to office higher than state representative. Abrams has never been elected to an office higher than Georgia state representative, serving as minority leader in the state's legislature, and she doesn't even hold that office at the current moment. State legislators are ubiquitous in the political world. The United States has more than 5,400 state representatives and nearly 2,000 state senators, according to Ballotpedia. And yeah, if Abrams becomes Biden's running mate and he wins, she'll be a heartbeat away from the presidency. Could you imagine her as our president? Well, can't imagine Biden either, so her qualifications are, excuse me, oh, yawn just attacked me out of nowhere. Where are we? Oh, it's sad being me. Okay, her qualifications are especially important considering Biden's advanced age. The former vice president is 77 years old and will turn 78 in November. If elected, Biden would be the oldest president in American history. Abrams wrote a series of steamy romance novels that could be awkward for her to address on the campaign trail, while her novels aren't as aggressive as Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders' essay about a woman having gang rape fantasies. It still contains sexually explicit content outside the norm for a vice president's writing. She refused to accept the results of the Georgia election. Abrams refused to accept the results of the Georgia gubernatorial election for months on end, insisting that she won the race and denying that Republican Governor Brian Kemp was the legitimate winner of the election. Her refusal to accept the results of an election opens her up to charges of hypocrisy, given that she criticized President Donald Trump in 2016 for refusing to commit to accepting the election results if he lost. As recently as last month, a group that Abrams leads placed an asterisk next to Kemp's name in an ad attacking him. Well, naturally she would. She's right in thick as thieves with the swamp. Abrams' debt struggles could be a liability for her and Biden on the campaign trail. Abrams admitted in 2018 to owing more than $200,000 in credit card debt. Are you kidding me? $200,000 in credit card debt? Who does that? What is she, 10? Seriously. Who runs up $200,000 in credit card debt? I mean, it's one thing to have debt, but, it's for your mortgage, it's for your car, whatever. But just credit cards, unsecured loans for nothing, paying all that interest. Could you imagine the interest on $200,000 of credit card? Anyway, it wasn't just credit card. It was student loans and IRS back taxes. And a nonprofit she founded was repeatedly targeted by state regulators over unpaid taxes. And ongoing ethics investigation. Georgia's Ethics Commission is investigating allegations that Abrams' 2018 gubernatorial campaign illegally coordinated with outside groups in violation of campaign finance laws. The head of the Ethics Commission, David Emadi, told the Daily Caller News Foundation on Friday that the investigation remains ongoing, but he said he's legally prevented from sharing any further details about it. Amandi said in December 2019 that a nonprofit tied to Abrams acted as a de facto political committee. Abrams has denied any wrongdoing. Well, naturally she would, because she's another one that's morally bankrupt. She won a minor victory in February when a judge denied the commission's pursuit of correspondence between her campaign and outside groups in question. So, yeah, and of course, there's lots of people pulling for her. I don't know what it is about her. I really don't. I don't know. She's not somebody that I would look at and say, oh, this person needs to be in. Like Candace Owen, like she is, I can't remember what she's running for, but it would be a fantastic person in politics. I mean, very well spoken, well educated, very up on current events. But Stacey Abrams, no, not at all. Not at all. She couldn't even accept the election results. She couldn't believe that she wouldn't win, just like Hillary. Hillary couldn't believe it. She still can't believe it. She's still pulling every excuse. She pulls a different excuse out of her hinder parts every day. Can't accept it. All right, let's go back here. Now we are getting, I think I'm going to have to wait for the rest of this. I do want to cover something else. So I'm kind of in a quandary here as to whether to do a second video and cover the rest of what I have here, or I do want to mention something that I found today that is profoundly disturbing, and I was going to do a video on that. So I don't know. While this is uploading, I'll decide which one to do, and I'll be back. And I do want to thank those people that contributed via Coffee and one via PayPal. We've got Rebecca B, JB, Ursa Bruin, Nellie Stirs, GG, and Angela B via PayPal. Thank you guys so much. I do depend on these donations and Patreon and so forth. It keeps me doing what I do, and we are not monetized, or there's no advertising on this site. If you ever see advertising on this site, let me know, because they have told me I am demonetized, and it is not conducive to putting advertising on my site. So if they are putting advertising on my site, which a few people have told me they have seen ads, so then that is very dishonest, because they are getting the money for that. All right. Well, that's it for this video. I will be back shortly after this has uploaded. Well, I'll probably record while this is uploading. So anyway, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And I always miss you. When I don't post for a night. I'm always glad to get back the next night, because I do enjoy it, and I do enjoy the back and forth and the comments and so forth. So anyway, you guys have a great night. Hopefully today is going to be, or tomorrow is going to be a brand new day and a brand new start to the week. Let's hope we see lots of good things next week. I hope I have so much good news to report next week that I can't hardly get to it all. That's my hope. All right, guys. Well, you have a great night. And if you're night owls, then stick around, because I'm going to upload another video after this. So, and if not, then it'll still be here tomorrow. All right, guys. Good night.